My name is Mo Sayed, and I'm a principal attorney at Offit Kurman. My practice is focused on corporate immigration law. I spend most of my time advising clients, businesses, and individuals alike on the advantages of different immigration strategies and different visa options for staffing and to hire various categories of employees and business owners and investors alike. Recently, I had the great pleasure to advise Blue Ridge Bank on the advantages of the H-1B visa, which is the specialty occupation visa. I had the pleasure of working with Mr. Bill Callaghan, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Blue Ridge Bank, who's joining us from Richmond, Virginia. We worked on a senior level paralegal employee, and he is joining me today to discuss their business challenges and how the H-1B visa helped their business. Before I turn to Mr. Callaghan, I want to mention a quick few points about the H-1B visa. The most important thing to know about the H-1B visa is that it is only for positions that are considered specialty occupations, which means the legal definition requires at least the attainment of a bachelor's level degree for the performance of the job duties. Now, the advantages of the H-1B is clearly US employers are able to hire the best and brightest talent from across US schools and universities, regardless of their national origin. And in fact, these employees do not have to be based in the US to be sponsored for an H-1B visa, as they can be hired foreign. And then if they get the visa, then they can come and work in the USA. It is also a good way for employees to have a permanent path to living and working in the US. The H-1B is offered for 6 years at a time. And then during that time, for employees that are excellent, employers can pursue other options such as the permanent work-based green card. Just some important things about the H-1B visa. For most for-profit commercial employers, there is a lottery process. So I won't get into the details of the lottery, but there are a limited number of these visas available every year, for which the competition is very keen. And we'll share details separately on our law firm website about the lottery process that will start in March 2024. The other important thing is the definition of specialty occupation in some fields is defined very extensively, and like a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant or engineer requires a specific degree field, and there are other categories that are specialty occupations. So it does need a careful review of the actual job duties. And then obviously employers need to understand, and lawyers can guide employers on that the employees remain at-will employees, just like any other US citizen or permanent resident, and then understanding the legal fees and the cost of the H-1B visa process is important. So with that quick overview, Bill, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to help any way I can.
Great. Bill, would you care to share a little bit about what you do for your organization and how we ended up connecting with each other?
Absolutely. I'm responsible for essentially the back office functions of the bank, operational technology related functions, but I also have a few other areas of responsibility, including legal for the bank, which for us means primarily subpoenas, lawsuits, garnishments, liens, those types of things that come into a bank regularly. So I had dealt with Offit Kurman previously in other areas, primarily involving banking law. Some of the subpoenas were a little bit more complex. and we needed advice and counsel, and that's how I started working with Offit Kurman originally.
Bill, and in this case for Blue Ridge Bank, to look at immigration and visas as a option, what was the situation that you were faced with that led to looking at a visa option for one of your employees?
Well, this kind of came about as an opportunity. We had addressed a need that we needed a paralegal, so we were trying to address that need. We needed assistance with somebody to help us with the legal processes internally. We do not have an in-house counsel. We pretty much work with Offit Kurman exclusively on those types of issues. So we started pursuing a paralegal search. We were actually contacted by one of our commercial customers that had a niece that was from India. She was actually working in a legal department for a bank in India, migrated to the US, and was interested in our position. So that began the conversation with Offit Kurman about, how do we employ this individual? We thought, what an opportunity. She has lots of experience, lots of education. She actually pursued her master's here in the US, master's in law, and had taken the bar. So we thought, what an opportunity. We could get somebody that had all this experience, but was very eager to work with us. So it was an opportunity that we just couldn't pass up.
Got it. And so you found someone that had good credentials, and as foreign students that are coming off of U.S. Degree programs, one of the main attractions for American universities, that America is such a great destination for foreign students, because after they graduate, they are given 1 year of work authorization.
Yes.
To use, and then employers can give them a trial run and see if they are hard workers, and then decide that, hey, this is somebody we want to keep. And then you get into the H-1B visa process. Tell me, when you made the decision to offer a full-time job, were you deterred at all by the seeming bureaucracy or red tape that the immigration system appears to present?
Well, I went in a little naive, because I probably didn't even know how to spell H-1B, so I didn't know a lot about it. And so this individual, we ended up hiring her, and she kind of educated me on the time period she had, and that to continue working with us, she had to obtain the H-1B. And so that's where I began to learn about the process. I can't say that we were necessarily put off by the bureaucracy, because Offit Kurman just made it so easy for us. Put us in touch with you and your team, and you brought us along step by step, and we were willing to commit and invest in this employee, because in the time that she had already been employed by us, she has done a wonderful job, and we just knew that we just really had somebody that we wanted to commit to long term. So we began working with Offit Kurman on the H-1B process, and just kind of took it from there.
Got it. And just to summarize, so the process of meeting the criteria is to show that there is a qualified position, and that the employer is paying the prevailing wage for the level of seniority, or whether it's an entry level or an expert level job, and for the given work site. And as long as those criteria are met, then the application process and the supporting documentation would typically be documents that are kept in the regular course of business. Was there anything about the application process that appeared particularly challenging or not intuitive?
Remembering back on the process, I will tell you that we essentially were given templates and questionnaires, and all we had to do was answer. So between us and our employee, we were able to answer all of those questions. I mean, we already had a job description. We already knew what we needed in this particular job. We had looked at the market. We knew what the market was. So we had all the information just as a normal course of our HR due diligence. So no, I mean, we essentially just had to answer the questions provided to us. Of course, there was a little back and forth on, edits and draft versions, but there was nothing that was that challenging for us because we had already done a lot of the groundwork.
Now, would you use the H-1B visa in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, it was, I won't say painless, but it was a very simple process. I mean, obviously it takes time, but because we have already done that HR due diligence, we had a lot of the material, and now we know we can tap in some of those resources. And the nice thing is, in these situations, sometimes they want us as much as we want them, in many cases. So it's a really nice, mutually beneficial relationship. So we can get a higher caliber of talent, we believe, in this process and obtaining employees that need an H-1B. Obviously, we're not going out looking, for folks that need an H-1B, but we are certainly entertaining them now as a part of the interview process, incorporating them in our recruiting efforts. And absolutely, we certainly would do that again.
Thank you so much, Bill. It has been a pleasure to talk to you today, and I really appreciate you sharing some of your experience with us. And my hope is that we are professionals that are each trying to do the best for our clients and bring value to the American economy. And certainly, our goal as immigration lawyers, or my colleagues in the immigration field, we like to make it easy for our business clients to find the best talent. And so it was a real pleasure to work with you. And thank you again for sharing your time with us.
Well, thank you for everything that you guys did for us. We really appreciate it at Blue Ridge Bank.
Awesome.
Good.
Yeah. Are you guys is there anything you want to re-record, or are you guys happy with how it flowed?
I'm okay, unless you think there's something I could have said better.
Oh man, Bill, no, you were awesome. I mean, wow. That was perfect.
Well, I'm an introvert by nature, so this was very challenging. I just got to tell you.
Oh man, no, I think it all just seemed very, authentic, and I think that, and yeah, I don't think we use a lot of jargon. I think it's good. We've got plenty, and we want to keep it short, so I mean, there's a lot that I would love to talk to you about.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. But no, Ro, I think we're good. I may just, let me, if I can do 2 or 3 questions, we may or may not use them, but I just want to explore a little bit. And this deals more with kind of big picture. And this is more about the immigration policy of the U.S. And you may or may not really, I mean, I don't expect you to be in a position to sort of look at the big picture, but let me ask it this way. Do you think the policy and procedure of work-based visas is user-friendly for businesses of your size?
For businesses our size, absolutely. I do think it could be challenging for a smaller business to be able to tap into this pool of talent, which is unfortunate, because there are just so many talented people that want to work in this country, especially in some of these highly technical fields, whether it be in technology or legal or anything else. So for an organization our size, I thought it was appropriate. I don't think it was challenging, but you get a much smaller organization with maybe less HR due diligence or something like that. It could be a challenging effort.
You think that in the global competition for talent, so we have smart people from different countries. Some of them are enrolled at US universities, others may be in Canada, the UK, Europe, and recently we have issues with the pandemic created a lot of challenges for travel. And do you feel that the US is competitive with other countries, or is it your sense that some talent may be lost to other countries?
You mean as far as comparatively the US versus outside countries? Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Well, I mean, I am very familiar with talent from India just because of my technology background. Obviously, there's a lot of very skilled, very educated, well-educated folks in India that we work with offshore. So I do believe that some of these other countries that have focused in the technology areas certainly have stepped ahead, I think, of some of the US universities. I do believe COVID made a huge hole in, I can't speak to how it impacted some of these other countries, but in the US, I think it severely set us back a couple of years with the talent. And I think we will feel that effect for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, setting aside visas and immigration for a minute, the pandemic, for some organizations that were already promoting remote work, the pandemic made it it regularized certain practices. Like we were all using Skype. As an immigration lawyer, my clients are all over the world. So I have some meetings that are face-to-face in person where I'm geographically located. But even pre-pandemic, much of my work was done via Skype. And like now we are talking on Zoom. A lot of our work is done by Zoom. And so the pandemic gave us more secure tools. There was necessity, like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. And so now some of those processes have become permanent. So my curiosity is that in the banking sector or in your workspace, can you talk a little bit about any significant changes between pre-pandemic and post-pandemic in terms of the remote work aspect?
Yeah, I'll tell you, in my 43 years in banking, this is probably the most significant change I have seen as far as remote work and hybrid workers. Most of the workers or most of the candidates that we talk to today are asking about hybrid, asking about remote. And, I believe in certain functions within the bank, remote work works very well. There are other functions that interaction, we lose some productivity, we lose some collaboration because they're not walking down the hallway and chatting with somebody in their office. So we've adopted a hybrid environment where we allow some flexibility, but we'd like to see in the office 3 days a week. But this is something that is not going away. You know, for folks like me that have been around a long time that are used to being in the office, it is a big change. But I think it can be very effective. I mean, I spend a lot of my time in front of the computer on meetings, and I think all of my employees are pretty much remote, and we have employees all over the country. So I think it is a complete employment cultural shift that we've experienced as a result of COVID.
Got it. So, final question here. So, I would like to hear from you, Bill, about in your own role in talk a little bit about the short-term objectives in your position, and you know, you're leading an organization and at a very senior level. What are some things that you are addressing in your organization in the short term, and then just for banking generally, where do you see your own role, your team's role in the long run? Like, what are some challenges that you foresee for kind of the industry more broadly?
Yeah, you know, banking is a very interesting profession, and it has changed quite a bit in 43 years. You know, but there's still that core banking element that I think we all focus on: community banking, you know, lending to our commercial clients, building small businesses in these communities. And so I think we'll continue to do that. Operationally, you know, from my perspective, we just want to be efficient. We want to be effective. We want to be, you know, answer to our customers and our shareholders, of course. But, you know, banking essentially, the core business has not changed a whole lot. It's just how we deliver. You know, everything is electronic, online banking. People don't go into branches anymore. Everyone, you know, like my kids probably don't even know what branch they bank at, because everything's electronic. And so that has changed quite a bit, but the back office functions are still the same. We still have to process the wires and get the ACH out and take care of the employees and take care of our customers. So in that regard, it's pretty much the same.
Okay, great. Well, once again, thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate your time. Very informative and useful. So I wish you the best, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mo.
Good.
Thanks,
Ro,
guys.
I think we're good, Ro.
Awesome.
So
Yep, so I will, once we finish here, I'll have the video downloaded and we will start editing, and Bill will share with you the video when it's done. If you would like to see it, but
Sure,
awesome.
but I don't know if I have much comment, but
like one area that I didn't get into is, you know, I mean, in this case, we paralegals, you know, generally that the pushback we got was that you can have a paralegal without a bachelor's degree, and we were able to go and prove that in this senior role, we needed some extra heavy lifting on proving up that point. Let me throw in a question about that, and we may or may not. Okay. No, yeah, sorry, bro. Okay, can we? Can we record this piece? Or
Yeah, it's still recording, so go ahead.
Okay. So one of the challenges in H-1B cases is that we have to prove that a position requires a bachelor's degree for performing its duties. Now, some positions, some professions, there is generally well-established data. For example, being a doctor needs a medical degree, being a lawyer needs a legal degree. But certain positions one can do with a lot of work experience, let's say with a high school diploma and a lot of work experience. And part of the challenge that we faced in our case was that we were doing a paralegal position. Generally, if we look at sort of across the whole USA, in the market for paralegals, I am sure there are paralegals out there that have an associate's degree, or they have, there's not a minimum educational standard. So, Bill, my question for you is, tell us a little bit about this particular position and what made it different from let's say, an entry-level paralegal.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and something that we struggled with initially. And I think we learned from our experience of looking at candidates. We know what we needed. We needed help because a lot of the load was on me, and we needed somebody with a legal background, legal understand some of these workflows interacting with courts and different jurisdictions. And what we found is the candidates that we were getting in initially were some of those that you discussed, not necessarily with a bachelor's degree or other degrees, and they didn't really meet the criteria of what we needed. So what we found, and we had to title it as a senior paralegal to be able to kind of up the talent. And that's where we found this individual fit. She fit very well because she actually has multiple degrees, and fit very well with her experience with what our needs were. So we kind of evolved to the point where we knew we needed a senior paralegal, and we found that with those degrees comes that experience and understanding. So that's how we came about the conclusion of a senior paralegal and going through this process with the candidate.
Yeah, and this is a very important point for future users of the H-1B visa, is that there is this misconception among some of the public that if a individual has a bachelor's degree, that they will automatically qualify for an H-1B. How the inquiry is deeper. It is not whether the individual has a degree in some field, but does the performance of your specific the employer's job, the day-to-day tasks and duties, are they, majority of them, more than 50%, do they require specific skills that are obtained by a bachelor's degree in a particular field? So I often have clients, they'll send me a resume and they believe that, hey, this person has a master's degree from a good school, but sometimes, okay, the field is not connected, so we have to make sure that, well, that's great that they have a master's degree, but are the duties related to the field? And so that's part of what we help advise with. And so we can, in certain cases, the conclusion, what I'd like the listeners to remember is that for each category of job, there is a entry level, level 2, level 3, level 4, and you may have an H-1B may be possible for levels 2, 3, and 4, but not for level 1, because your level 1 might be something that you could do with a associate's degree, but then 2, 3, and 4 may, jump up to the level of complexity that falls into the H-1B territory. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Awesome. All right, so we're good to go?
Good to go. All right. Thanks, Bill. Well, hey.
Okay. You're welcome.
In the DC
Okay,
area,
thank you.
Let me know.
Bye-bye.
And we'll be in touch. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Have a great day. Bye.